Now, the other one for me is, do we have the conversation about Dan Lanning, and not the way you like to say it's time to have a conversation,
No, 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 no. Okay,
but
why don't you set it up? I'm trying to look up his a stat real quick as you're
yes,
talking.
I know which stat you're getting ready to look up.
Okay, I got it.
Dan
Here are
Lanning,
Dan. Let
go
me. Can
ahead,
I do it
give the
first?
stat.
Okay.
Yes.
These are the losses that Dan Lanning has had at Oregon. To Georgia, the year they won a national title. Then he lost to Washington, Oregon State. Then he lost to Washington twice when they played for a national title.
Yep.
He lost to Ohio State last year when they won a national title. Lost to Indiana twice this year. Will play for a national title. That's what that's the stat I wanted to get in.
Yes, and I think it's a valuable stat. We have widely regarded Dan Lanning as a top 5, top 10, fringe top 5 coach in college football. And when you look at the teams that he's lost to, like, that's when you start to understand, like, we're talking upper echelon, margins are very thin, hard to beat teams like that on a consistent basis. Ryan Day was the can't win the big game guy, and wasn't until the year he won a national title that he finally lost to a team that wasn't ranked. We had talked about James Franklin and his record against some of the top teams. And I think it's really intriguing because it feels like Dan Lanning is kind of at that spot right now. We know he's a great ball coach, but big game Dan Lanning has some losses, and frankly, some really ugly ones by wide margins.
Right. I think it's the margins, but I will say so if you're losing to the teams that ultimately win it all, I think it's sort of defensible, right? Because they're going to beat almost everybody that they play. The margins are what's hard because that's what you're trying to close. You're trying to close that gap, and you're staring down a world now where Indiana may win a national championship before Oregon wins a national championship. Like coming into this game, we were like, oh, we're used to seeing Oregon in this boat, but
Right.
they still not won one. Like that window is changing now in the way that college football is. And if someone's able to leapfrog you, like Indiana just did, it's a little concerning.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm definitely with you on the concern. And like, again, this is not, I'm not trying to say that I think Dan Lanning's a bad coach. I think he's a phenomenal coach, as a matter of fact, but it
I just
feels
think
like
these are
he's,
frustrating. These are
yeah,
frustrating
it's
ways to
frustrating,
end the
but
season.
I feel like he's avoided the conversation more so than like Ryan Day, who I brought up, where a lot of his losses were to the good teams. And even Kirby early on, where people were saying, like, oh, Kirby may never win one. Like, who is he losing to that was bad? Right. Like these
Right.
guys all have losses to really good teams. And so I think it's an intriguing spot because he's 13 win seasons, right? Like he's done a lot of really good things. But in this world right now, especially where it feels like everybody's like, you got to win championships, like championship or bust is what all of these programs are trying to say. It's difficult to have the 13 wins, but not have the hardware that you would typically associate with that.
Do you think that it helps Dan Lanning at all that Kalen DeBoer got blown out by the same team? Do you think it helps Kalen DeBoer to watch what just happened to Dan Lanning, to watch what happened to Georgia, to lose to Ole Miss? Like, do you think anyone feels a little bit better by seeing other like top coaches, top programs go through some painful losses?
Yes, I think there are a lot of people that are gonna look at what has happened and they're gonna cope. And I think it's reasonable, right? Like
Yeah,
Kalen
only
DeBoer
team
is
can win the whole thing.
right. And by the way, like Kalen DeBoer is going to go through hell this offseason. And again, Alabama, different place, get the standard, all that kind of stuff. It's going to be not because of getting blown out by Georgia, name brand, in the conference championship where you had -3 rush yards. It's going to be because you went to the Rose Bowl and Indiana housed you. And we're going to look at that and try to make whatever about Kalen DeBoer. But then you look at what happened to Dan Lanning, and it's like, okay, can we cast aspersions about these guys? Because at some point we got to acknowledge that those are two good coaches, maybe just got caught on the wrong day by the wrong team who's playing out of their mind. I think
Yeah.
in Columbus, there's going to be a lot of copium too. We played that team within 3 points, and then look at what they did in the postseason. They were kicking the shit out of everybody. So I really do think that people are actually going to try to put context to what that team is doing right now and say that it's not actually as bad as what it seemed on the day that they lost the game.
Well, and I think to your point, I think if Indiana wins a title, the conversation about like Curt Cignetti is the best coach in the sport right
Right.
now,
Right.
it changes it too.